Welcome to the District 3 Transportation Town Hall meeting. It is my pleasure to introduce your Orange County Mayor, Jerry L. Demings.
Good evening to all of you. Let me welcome you here to this Transportation Town Hall meeting. This is the second official Town Hall meeting that we've had to delve into the issues regarding our transportation challenges here within Orange County. I want to thank Commissioner Myra Uribe from Orange County Commission District 3, the Commissioner of Record for this particular area. Thank you for being here with your staff as well. Let me also do some acknowledgments of some of our elected officials who have joined us here tonight. First, we have the Honorable Dale McDonald, the Mayor of the City of Maitland. Mayor McDonald, would you just stand and be recognized? Thank you very much. Is Mayor Nick Forrester from Belle Isle here yet at this time? I don't see him, but we do have the Belle Isle City Manager, Mr. Bob Francis, who is here. Mr. Francis, there he is. And we have Ms. Mercedes Fonseca from District 4 representing Commissioner Maribel Gomez Cordero. And last but not least, I certainly could not leave this one out. We have Mr. Mark Henson, who represents Congresswoman Val Butler Demings of the U.S. House of Representatives representing Florida's Congressional District 10. Mark is here in the audience as well. Let me say thank you to all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here tonight and participate in this forum. We're asking that you give us some feedback, and we will.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to thank you for being here. My name is Myra Uribe. I am your Orange County Commissioner for District 3, which is the home of where this meeting is hosted tonight. I did want to take a moment. Mayor Nick Foraker has arrived from the city of Belle Isle. We want to thank him for being here, too. Safety. And I commend the mayor for actually starting this conversation in the community. So instead of us as county commissioners telling you what we think should happen, we're here to listen to you to see what you think should happen in our community. And it all starts a dialogue like this. So for me, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to host the first meeting. I thank you all for coming out on
as I ran for mayor during the 13 months I had over you. Today's Transportation Town Hall is intended to expand upon those early discussions and begin a broader community conversation about transportation solutions. Our agenda this evening will begin with a call to you. As we look for solutions, I want you to see yourself somewhere in the narrative of the story that we are telling about how we as a community will come together to address those issues. And so at this time, I'm going to ask one of our very best and brightest Orange County employees, Ms. Carla Bell Johnson, to come forward and make a brief presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Demings, and it is my pleasure to provide a very brief overview of our transportation system for your information as we begin this conversation about transportation. Do I have? There we go. My apologies. So I'm going to start with a little overview of what Orange County is. Orange County has a population of approximately 1.3 million people, making it the 5th largest county based on population in the state of Florida. And Florida has a total of 67 counties. 90% of our population lives within urban areas of the county, with the remaining 10% in rural areas. If you look at the size of the county by land area, we cover nearly 1,000 square miles. And there are 13 municipalities within the county, such as the City of Orlando, the Town of Edgewood, and others. And approximately 87% of the people who live in Orange County also work in Orange County. So our transportation system serves an important purpose in connecting our residents to their jobs. So how is transportation currently funded? The big picture here is there are a few key funding sources for transportation. Historically, the traditional transportation funding sources have been gas taxes and impact fees. Gas taxes consist of the fuel tax that we pay each time we gas up our automobiles. Impact fees are the fees that developers pay to help mitigate the transportation impacts that their new development creates. There are also a few restricted resources, such as community redevelopment areas and other trust funds that have very specific limitations on how the funding can be spent. More recently, because the traditional transportation funding sources like gas taxes and impact fees have not been sufficient to meet our transportation needs, we've had to increasingly rely upon other sources such as property tax and sales tax. Of course, property taxes are the taxes paid on your property if you own property within the county, and sales taxes are the taxes that we pay on certain goods and services that we consume. So how is this funding currently used? I want to just touch on a few key components of our transportation system very briefly for you here. I'm going to touch on roadways, resurfacing, things like traffic signals and intersection improvements and the technology that goes along with that, bicycle and pedestrian safety, street lighting, and mass transit. There are 2,700 miles of county roadways within Orange County. And to give you some perspective on the cost of widening roadways, it costs more than $3 million per lane mile to widen a roadway. So if you were widening a roadway like Valencia College Lane from 2 to 4 lanes, that roadway would cost about $12 million for 1 mile of roadway. When we look at our current roadway network within the county, nearly 1 out of 4 roads are failing, which means they are carrying more traffic than they have the capacity to handle. I want to point out as we continue this conversation tonight that major highways such as I-4, which is obviously under construction right now, and some of the toll roads that we utilize are really not a part of the conversation we're having now moving forward. Now, what's equally important as building roadway infrastructure is being able to maintain that infrastructure into the future. The most visible representation of roadway maintenance is resurfacing. That's resurfacing the pavement, and it typically happens about every 12 to 15 years. The average cost of resurfacing a roadway is $175,000 per mile. Last year, the county was able to resurface approximately 185 miles of roadway. But in reality, to keep up with the average lifespan of a roadway and to avoid the higher costs associated with having to rebuild roadways that have deteriorated significantly, we should be resurfacing them approximately every 10 years, which really would mean we would be resurfacing something like 270 miles of roadways as opposed to 185 each year. Another key component of our transportation system are traffic signals and intersections. Sometimes the congestion that we experience is not just the roadway itself, but it's the intersections along the roadway. The more efficient our traffic signals and intersections are, the less delay we experience in traffic. There are 585 existing traffic signals within the county. The average cost of a new traffic signal is approximately $350,000. And in order for the traffic signal systems to function properly and communicate, fiber optic cable is a critical infrastructure piece or component that must exist and must be maintained. Last year, approximately 240 miles of fiber optic cable were installed.
A very successful and popular van pool commuter services program. We also provide road ranger service along I-4. And Access LYNX is our door-to-door paratransit system for those most in need and disadvantaged in our community, many that can't access other services. System-wide, LYNX has a little over 4,300 bus stops. A little over a quarter of those stops have shelters at them. LYNX also has 9 super stops and 7 transfer centers, not including the central station downtown. Well, my apologies, folks. I can just kind of go through the presentation here. Like most agencies, we have both an operating and a capital budget. I'll spend the most time here on the operating budget since that's what most affects the local government funding partners. The LYNX capital budget is funded over 98% from federal and state sources. And over half of our operating revenue, though for the operating budget, comes from local governments, and primarily Orange County, but also Seminole and Osceola counties. Another 17% comes from passenger fares, and this is a typical percentage across the nation. About 22% of our operating revenue comes from federal and state block grants. These are largely formula funds, so this is a fairly flat revenue stream. And the rest of our revenue comes from things like advertising, contract services, interest, over which we have a little bit more control, and we try to maximize as best we can. Let me tell you a little bit about who takes those 25 million trips last year that I mentioned in the Fast Facts. The majority of our riders, almost 60%, are employed full-time, primarily in the service industries. Half of our riders use LYNX as their primary method to get to work. Over 60% of our riders don't have access to a car. So I'm not going to go through each of these statistics, but I just kind of wanted to give you a quick snapshot of the folks who are using LYNX. Let me talk a little bit about frequency. One of the most common issues that I hear about when I ask folks about the bus service is the frequency of our routes, the frequency of our buses, the time between routes. Most of the LYNX bus routes are local buses that serving the region, and they run 30 minutes or more between buses. In fact, nearly half of those routes are 60 minutes or more between buses. And so of the 70-plus routes that LYNX has only 5 of these run every 15 minutes or less. One of the reasons that we see this long wait between buses is that as our population grows, and of course, as you know, this is one of the fastest growing regions in the nation, the LYNX transit fleet has not kept up. And of course, with growth and more people in the region driving, of course, the LYNX buses are in the same traffic. Also, as the region has grown, our fleet is not. Our buses have gotten older. The FTA replacement guidelines for Federal Transit Administration replacement guidelines for a bus is at 12 years or 500,000 miles. Over 41% of our fleet is over this 500,000 mile threshold. In fact, over 60 of our buses are over 700,000 miles. Let me wrap up the kind of the LYNX portion of this discussion with a look at how LYNX funding levels compares with other peer agencies in Florida and across the country that have similarly sized populations and areas served. This chart shows you how LYNX compares to some of these other agencies on a per capita spending basis. In other words, how much the region spends on transit per person. And the column in LYNX pink there is shows the investment per person in the area served. You'll notice that LYNX is at the bottom of this particular list. I'll also point out, you'll notice that the funding level for LYNX on this particular chart includes Sunrail. Let me just talk real quickly about Sunrail, just touch on that quickly. And Sunrail, of course, is the region's commuter rail system, which serves not only the LYNX service area of Orange, Osceola, and Seminole County, but one station in Volusia County as well. If you take Sunrail, you're probably aware that Sunrail has weekday-only service. It's primarily geared towards work commuters. So during the peak hours of work traffic, it runs on a 30-minute frequency. On off-peak hours, it's 90 to 120 minutes between trains. And of course, there's no weekend and holiday service. So with that, I will close my remarks and invite Mayor Demings back to the podium.
All right, thank you, Jim, for that informative information about our LYNX bus service. You've heard from Carla Bell now and Jim Harrison regarding the state of our transportation system here within Orange County. Our transportation infrastructure is exceeding its capacity. Our LYNX bus system does not have a dedicated source of funding, and the Sunrail system is currently currently provides limited service hours and frequency. You heard Mr. Harrison indicate that only 17% of LYNX's budget is derived from ridership, from fares collected from those who ride the bus system here within Orange County or within the region itself. That's really not atypical of what you see around the country. In every major metropolitan area, the fares collected from riders does not pay the majority of the cost of any of those systems, regardless of where you are, whether that's Washington, D.C. or New York. They all depend upon other revenue sources. In many cases, they all receive federal and state funding as well. So what are we looking to do here? I want to work together to develop immediate and long-term transportation solutions to our challenges, including consideration of a revenue source such as a local transportation sales tax. Statutorily, we would have the opportunity to put something on the ballot that you, the electorate, will have the opportunity to vote on, and we're looking at November of 2020. So about 14 months from now, we will be looking to put a charter county regional and transportation system surtax on the ballot, a 1% or 1 penny tax that would generate $635+ million on an annual basis. Now, hold that number. Looking at our region, you can see that Orange County currently has one of the lowest tax rates within our region. Our neighbors in Seminole, Osceola, and Lake counties have each already implemented a local sales tax to address the transportation needs within their respective communities. And a number of other communities across Florida, across the state, including Palm Beach, Broward, and Hillsborough counties. So why am I considering a charter county regional sales tax? Well, of the various funding sources available for transportation, this has the potential to generate revenues sufficient enough to making transformational improvements to our transportation system. It is able to utilize dollars that could be used for both capital and operation and maintenance costs, which is important as we consider not only roadway improvements, but also transit solutions. It is important to note that non-residents, tourists who obviously impact our roadways, will pay about 51% of the revenues that will be generated from this funding source. If we looked at increasing property taxes. A 1 mil increase in property taxes would generate about $144 million on an annual basis. A half mil would be $72 million. The penny or the 1% would produce $635 million on an annual basis. So it could be transformational for our community. The first step in the process of our community's consideration of this strategy is community engagement, which is why we're having these various meetings around the county to get your input. We will spend the next 3 months engaging with citizens to hear your perspective on potential transportation solutions. And based on your input, we will develop a specific plan for the Board of County Commission to consider in early 2020. And ultimately, for you to consider in a vote which would occur in November of 2020, 14 months or so from now. I plan to also recommend the creation of an oversight committee that would include citizens, community, and stakeholder representatives as an added measure of accountability to give you the assurance that the transportation plan that is developed will be implemented effectively and the funding utilized appropriately. Our transportation town hall this evening is a key component of our community engagement efforts. We will replicate this throughout the county. This evening we want to hear from you regarding your current transportation challenges, your ideas for solutions, and your priorities. I'm going to ask Ms. Jane Wartrell to come forward to act as our moderator to help facilitate the discussion this evening. And then I, along with Carla Bill and Jim Harrison or any of our other appropriate county staff, will be prepared to respond to the questions that you may have. Hopefully, we've just framed the issues for you at this point and the potential for a solution. Ms. Jane Wartrell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Well, this is the exciting part for us. For the next hour or so, we're going to want to hear from you. Then about 7:50 tonight, we'll call back up Commissioner Uribe, Mayor Demings, and we'll close this off. So we have lots of time to hear from you. So now that you've heard the state of transportation in Orange County, it's your chance to help us define exactly what you want. What do you want in this plan? If the sales tax were to pass, think about this. How would you like to see the money spent? First, there's a couple of ground rules to go over. We ask that you speak no more than 3 minutes. We're not going to cut you off, but we hope that you can sum up what your concerns are in about 3 minutes, because we want to get to as many people as possible. Next, this is a live broadcast. We know you're passionate about transportation, but please remember this is a family show. Your facts. There's a microphone right over there on the side. If you kind of look over there, there's a microphone there for you to go up and give us your comments. However, we will have someone roving around with a microphone if you're unable to get to, right over there, if you're unable to get up to the microphone. So, now, the other thing that's interesting is we really do want your input, and you see along the wall here, there are sheets of paper. We are going to write down all your ideas. Plus, many of you have filled out comment cards. If we don't get to these comment cards tonight, they will be transcribed, they will be noted. We will absolutely take down everything you say. So we've divided it into 6 different categories: public transportation, pedestrian and bike safety, roads, technology, traffic signals and streetlights, intersections, and the other category is other. Now, many of you filled out a survey when you first came in, so we'll be reading some of the comments and answer your questions. And we want to let the audience know, if they're watching live, they can take that survey at www.ocfl.net/transportation. Also tonight, if you're watching on social media and you want to send us a question, it's #OCFL Transportation. So let's get to some of these cards. The first card I want to go over is from John, who asks, will the sales tax fund, it looks like RRT, railroad tracks or light rail along State Road 50 and I Drive to OIA? Mayor?
Okay. The answer to your question, it is possible that it could. Based on input that we receive from you, we'll develop a priority list of projects. It could include bus rapid transit lanes where there will be dedicated lanes just for buses. It could include improving the infrastructure to include the technology around our transportation system itself and the like. So the answer is that's a possibility. We would do a cost estimate, and that would be part of the overall spending plan. It is our goal that, again, using this oversight committee, we will come up with a prioritized list and demonstrate to the electorate prior to the vote in November of 2020, this is what, if you pass this sales tax, this is what we're going to spend the dollars on. Working in partnership with our municipalities as well. We would be asking mayors of our municipalities to work with their staff to identify some projects that are not currently in their capital improvement plan or their roadway improvement plans that would be the benefactors of this tax if it passes.
Can we get a show of hands in the audience? How many here use a vehicle like a car, truck, SUV as a primary mode of transportation? Wow, almost all the audience. And we want you to hear and go on up to the microphone. What problems do you see with your commute? We want to hear about your challenges. Now, do we have any LYNX riders in here? Show of hands. Okay, about a half dozen LYNX riders. Anybody on Sunrail? Okay, so we know who our audience is. You are all commuters that use vehicles. So here's another question from Glenn. The electric car hub areas part of the proposal?
Okay, part of our goal is to really reduce the number of automobiles on the roadway going to a true mass transit system. However, we do realize that part of what we're seeing in the marketplace today is more individuals who are driving electric vehicles. We will see autonomous vehicles enter the market space as well. And so we realize that in order to accommodate those who are in electric vehicles, that we would need to look at the potential for charging stations and the like. Part of our goal also is to reduce the carbon footprint here in the community, to get away from driving gasoline vehicles, to hopefully save our environment. And so part of this initiative will certainly be environmentally friendly and sensitive as well.
Surely some of you must have a question. Does anybody want to raise a hand and we'll come to you? You don't have to walk up to the microphone. Right there, sir. Keep your hand up so that she can. Okay, there you go. Thank you, sir.
Hi, I live in District 3, 32825, near the Lake Underhill area. We have been told that a process that started in 2007 was going to be determined to cost $40 million to create a length of road 1.6 miles long, or to expand an existing roadway. If it started in 2007, I'm sure that the cost has increased since the beginning of that planning process, and now it's gone up to supposedly $40 million. How can we get things done so that the costs do not increase while we are waiting for them to be processed or massaged?
And can you tell us where that road is again, sir?
Lake Underhill between Chickasaw and Econ.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for asking the question, and it's very true. As soon as I was elected, I learned that that road was actually on a list within the county of needing improvement, but that there wasn't the funding to allow this to happen. One of the things that I think is important in this project is those are the kind of road infrastructures that we're looking at immediately as improvement. But I agree with you. We've improved from Cimarron up into Goldenrod, and now we've
Section between Chickasaw and Econ is not currently slated or not currently scheduled for completion, but the entire remainder of Lake Underhill Road is, which would create or continue an even greater safety challenge as time goes by and more traffic is experienced on that. I just want to make sure that, I know, Commissioner, you're aware of that. I just want to make sure that that is something that is brought up and remains on the table. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we've written it down because we want to take this and put it together into a plan and see what works for each district. I saw a hand up in here, right there. Okay.
Jane, can I just
Yes.
touch
Yes,
on
sir.
his question also a little bit here, because you heard me say that our goal is to work with I'm losing my voice. Our goal is to work with thank you. Our goal is to work with the municipalities on many of these projects, and so sometimes we have to identify whether the roadways are within the cities, within the unincorporated county, but we also work with the state as well, because you can see here within our community, we have really billions of dollars worth of road widening projects and resurfacing projects underway with our state roadways from I-4 to 408, 429, 417, to 528. But we also have to work with the cities for those collector roadways and feeder roadways into some of the other major roadways here within the area. And it's really all about the funding. And sometimes the reason why these projects don't move forward is because of a deficit of funding. But it is my belief that because of the significance of the funding stream that we will have through this dedicated source, we will be able to come up with short-term, intermediate, and long-term plans to advance many of those projects forward at a faster rate than perhaps they have been in the past as well.
Thank you. I see you hand up right here. Casey, are you around? Can you come down right there? And then we'll get to the woman at the microphone.
My name is Susan Lomas. I live in the city of Edgewood, and I've come tonight about two concerns. I commute on Orange Blossom Trail from Holden Avenue to I-4 daily, to and from. And the crosswalks, although they are painted and you have beautiful signs that say crosswalk ahead, stop here, and then you have the crosswalk. As a driver, I cannot see the pedestrian, either in the middle of the median because of the beautiful landscaping, which is wonderful that we do have that beautiful landscaping on South Orange Blossom Trail, but it is such a concern. You see parents with their children running across 6 lanes of road, okay? And as a driver, I'm afraid to stop, okay? I'm afraid that if I stop and they start to come out, is the guy in the other lane or the other lane on that side, are they gonna stop, okay? Am I gonna be rear-ended because the person behind me doesn't know why I've stopped? You have some sort of stoplight for crossing on Americana Boulevard.
Is it a flashing light?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I mean, this is something that we as drivers need to see on Orange Blossom Trail, because there's only 2 lights between Holden Avenue and I-4, but there's, I believe, 3 or 4 crosswalks.
That's great. Thank you. And I hear applause, and we're writing that down. Thank you. And the mayor, I know, and Commissioner Uribe have a response.
I also take Orange Blossom Trail as I live on Lake Jessamine, and you're very true. There's 2 things, though, that concern me. 1, we can't see them, especially at night. 2, pedestrians are not educated on how they should cross also. We've got LYNX bus station. I know that's an effort that we are doing with Metropan and I yield for pedestrians, because we have to get flashing lights, and that is something that is being worked on. But actually, and I meant to say the sheriff, but the mayor, sorry, it goes back to old ways. Sadly, OBT is actually the highest fatalities of pedestrians in all of Central Florida. And I'm very worried because you've also got seniors, you've got major bus stations. We lack lighting, and there is not that education on the pedestrian and the driver. And I believe pedestrian education has to continue on, but flashing lights have to definitely be something that we look at.
It's great that we have these great roadways, okay, but if they're not pedestrian friendly, I mean, I guess we are ranked number one
Yes.
in the
It's
country.
a sad number one.
Right. Okay. My second concern is Holden Avenue. As a citizen of Edgewood, my backyard butts Holden Avenue. And I know years ago the city of Edgewood passed an ordinance that said no trucks. I would like you, Commissioner, to help my city, okay, improve our quality of life of those of us who live on off of Holden, that the trucks stay off there. It's a two-laned road. You can go to Oak Ridge Road, which is 4 lanes, or you can go to, I know Michigan's a little messy right now, but it's 4 lanes, okay? There's no reason why a tractor trailer carrying cars needs to be going in my backyard.
So your concern is more enforcement perhaps, and those are and we're writing all that down, Commissioner?
And also, we have other Holden residents here who've actually proven and shown studies that the reason why it's so dangerous for semis to go on Holden is because the amount of massive residential. So heaven forbid there's an accident, correct, it is all residential with a couple churches. And absolutely, and also furthermore, Holden is on the list for streetlights. So it is on that list that hopefully we will get to, and hopefully I'll see in my time as a county commissioner.
Thank you. The woman at the microphone, if you could say your first name and where you live.
Sally, and I live in Azalea Park, and I was born and raised here in Orange County, so I've seen a lot of changes. I went to the first meeting, and I'm going to share some of that same information for the people here. And also, happy Constitution Week, everybody. Let's not forget that. We have to face the fact of the root cause of the traffic and the transportation problems. It's reckless growth management. If we don't control the growth, we are never going to get out of this mess we have with the transportation. And I think a lot of people here agree with that.
There's some clapping, yes.
The other thing, when it comes time to doing the funding, I've provided some information, and I'm going to be working closely with the mayor. He said he wanted our opinion, so he's going to get it. He's going to get all of it, and I'm going to give the documentation, and I'm going to give solutions, other ways we can pay for the roads and what we should be doing. Now, I have to tell you, after having gone to the first meeting and now here, and I've been thinking about this, I cannot support a sales tax increase for transportation. And for starters, again, growth management, you've got to get the growth management under control. You're expecting me to pay for this reckless growth management, and I shouldn't have to, all of us to do that. And if you got $141 million that you can give to Universal Studios, then you must have money. You must have extra money to waste. I'm sorry, I do not believe Universal needs $141 million.
You're getting off track, ma'am.
No, but it's the funding.
We did not give
tax.
money to Universal.
Yes, you did. The county did, 125
but let's
plus
move on
16.
to a that's
It
not
is.
a
It's for
transportation
transportation.
concern. Let's
for
have a
transportation.
transportation concern.
Okay.
You certainly brought it up with the managing of the roads. Everyone here applauded. Anything else?
Okay, the other, again, massive tax breaks. You're wanting to propose a sales tax increase, and I don't think it's fair. It's not fair because you have money for many other things that you shouldn't be spending our money on. The other, regressive toll taxes. No one's talking about the toll taxes. We pay a lot of money in taxes today already for transportation. So, and yeah, I know they're the state roads, but we have no expressways. I've said last time, one of the biggest messes in the Azalea Park area, you've got the 408, Goldenrod, Lake Underhill. It's a massive disaster area, and a big part of it is because they keep putting more and more apartment complexes right there. They wanted to put apartment complexes on Alta Underhill. That was going to be another mess. They have what they call the AMA. The AMA is breaks that you give to put
So
large complexes
could you formulate a question, because we're waiting to hear your question so we can at least give an answer.
Okay, what are you going to do to stop the reckless growth management so that we can get the transportation under control? You will not do anything with transportation if you don't control the growth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Here you go.
Let me Let me just kind of respond to what she said here. Obviously, we are a growing community. We are growing in the region by a net of nearly 1,500 new people each week. We have 75 million tourists who are coming here. Our tourism industry is a $70 billion industry. All of that really translates into the overall quality of life that we have here within this community. And yes, we have challenges. We're going to continue to grow. Growth management is a strategy that is consistent with having a growth management response to it. We're not likely going to stop growing anytime soon. The fact that we're growing as a community, I see as a good thing, because the moment that this community stops growing is the moment that this community starts dying. We have seen major metropolitan communities around America who stopped growing, and what happened? It was a net decrease in population, a net decrease in the overall economy for those communities. So we're trying to preserve the quality of life. This is home for me. I care immensely about this community because this is where I was born and raised. This is where my family lives, from my 97-year-old father right down to my 4-year-old granddaughter. And so what I'm concerned about, and I think those of us who are here on this stage and in this audience, the majority are concerned about what kind of community this will be in the future. What we're trying to do is make certain that we make the type of public policy decisions today that will be impactful for generations, decades from now, that are not yet born. If this sales tax passes, I can assure you this will be a major game changer for our entire community. What the problems are, and so you did a pretty good job of identifying a number of problems. What you didn't do was really identify solutions. That's really the role of your local government as well as your community leaders, is to identify responsible solutions to the challenges. And that's why we have endeavored to have these community forums, to have a discussion about what we can do. And it will take, you won't be the only one that will pay this sales tax. All of us will. All of us will pay it, but the good positive about it is 51% of it will not be paid by the people who live here. It will be paid by the people who are coming to visit, who are helping to clog our roadways, and there's no other funding methodology out there where you get someone else to help pay for the needs that we have to come up with solutions in this community.
Well,
So thank you for your question.
What you're saying isn't true. You're missing some key points.
No, I'm not missing any. I'm not missing any key points.
Not everybody can live in Orange County, Florida. We're destroying the environment. You have the wetlands that are getting destroyed, the flooding that's going on. Reckless growth is impacting us in many, many ways. And I have provided you with alternatives. That was what I handed to you last time, and that's what I'm going to be meeting with Carla to do. Because, yes, I have come up with solutions. There are better options, but you can't keep everybody cannot live in Orange County, Florida. Sorry, the environment won't allow that. And you're going to cause more flooding. The flooding is starting now.
I think we gave you a fair opportunity to be heard, but other people want to be heard as well.
There's a question in the back. Question in the back.
Hi, my name's Joseph Theodoridis, and I live down Hoffner. Hoffner Avenue itself, great, it was widened. But the maintenance of Hoffner Avenue and the grass, once a month, cutting of that, it just makes the area look trashy. And that's all through Hoffner from the whole widening project. Just a comment there. Mike, there was a knee-jerk reaction on 436, just south of Curry Ford Road, where a new light was installed. I think it's great that you put the medium there and you stop traffic going from the old Kmart Plaza across to where the Big Lots and stuff is. But why do we have another traffic light put in? Let's talk about responsible spending. How much money do we spend in studies? How much money do we spend to have that traffic light put in? Is it really necessary right there? That's a stop and go.
So where is it, sir, precisely, so we can write that down?
We have 4 traffic lights from Lake Margaret on 436 to Curry Ford Road.
Okay.
You're talking a very short distance, and that's just stop and go traffic. You add the school buses in there in the morning, and it's even worse.
So you're saying the roads are absolutely clogged in that area during certain times?
And we added another light.
Okay.
We added a new light in there between. The roads are clogged, and we added a new light. Why? And is that responsible spending?
That, I will tell you that the area that you identified, it does fall within the city of Orlando, and they're pretty much on point for that. 436 is also a state roadway as well, and so they do work with the state. We would be looking and listening to the municipalities again to where they have a deficit of funding to address some of their needs of their major roadways. But again, we'd have to prioritize all of what we would have to do to try to come up with fixing that problem. Again, the ultimate goal here is to really reduce the number of automobiles on the roadway.
So why do we have Sunrail? What purpose is it serving?
Let me,
Accidents are caused at the intersections of the railroad crossings and roads. I mean,
the reason why
multiple accidents. Why don't we have an above road system like they do in Atlanta, like they do in New York? Why are we going cheap and going with existing tracks?
the reason why people may not take Sunrail is because it's not really a true mass transit system. It's not robust enough. With the kind of funding that we're talking about, we will have the opportunity to add additional spurs that may run east or west to improve the connectivity and access to those who need public transportation. The reason why people may not get out of their cars and take Sunrail, or they may not take the LYNX bus system, is because the systems are not robust enough. They are not convenient. They don't have the right connectivity. And so what we're saying is, with this tax, we would be able to improve all of that significantly. The LYNX bus system now, I think, has somewhere between 310, 320 buses. I'm looking for, well, Jim, is that correct? And a similar sized city like Pittsburgh has twice as the number of buses that we have here in this area. In order to improve the LYNX service, we'll have to improve the number of routes, the number of stops, the connectivity, the locations where it would go, how it connects with the other transportation systems that we have here. And so for me, I do believe that expanding Sunrail, expanding the spurs for Sunrail is going to be critical to the long-term success of building the type of transportation infrastructure that we're going to need in this community to get people off the roadways so that you don't have 4 or 5 lights within a short distance.
So as we are now having a lot of people line up at the microphone, sir, at the mic, could you turn around and look and see the people behind you? If you could keep your comments kind of brief, we're here to write them down. Go right ahead.
Okay, I'll try to be brief. Just a comment and then a question. So, you know, I'm from the east side. My name is R.J. Mueller, and I've spent a lot of years watching transportation in Orange County, and you know, that probably makes me a little different than people in here because I'm sort of a I don't know, you know, I follow it quite deeply. So, you know, I've seen Orange County. Orange County is cash poor, folks, when it comes to transportation and meeting the needs of what we need as far as our road improvements and everything else. And I just don't see another way out of this situation except for this sales tax. I think it's something that is very necessary and something that we really need to do. And so my question is, even though this room is very full, and it seems like there's a lot of people here, probably 100 to 150 people, when you look at District 3 and the number of people that are in District 3, this is nothing. This is a very, very small amount of people. So what I'm concerned about is how we're going to get the word out to people that this is important, especially when this is going to come up on the ballot, I think, in 2020, right? When we're going to have a presidential election and it's going to be on the same ballot and people are not going to know what this means. So that's a concern to me. And so the other question I have is, when will we know the plan for the Orange County? Because I'm from the east side, and I keep hearing Sunrail links and all that kind of thing, but I'm willing to give it a chance, and I'd like to know when this will be available to us as to how the impact will be for my community on the east side. Thank you.
Okay, in terms of when will the spending plan be available, we're taking the next 3 to 4 months. So shortly after the first of the year, we will develop that list of potential projects that could be paid for from the revenues associated with this sales tax. How will we communicate that? This is essentially a political campaign, because any time that something is put on the ballot and people will be asked to vote for it, that makes it a political campaign. So like other political campaigns, we'll have to raise some money that will be outside of our government role. What we're doing tonight is simply sharing information, receiving your input. We're going to take that, and then we will develop a very specific, detailed plan that will be shared, and then that will be communicated to the public, to the electorate, prior to the date of the vote itself in November of next year. And so we would have to raise private dollars, not public dollars, to be able to then educate the public about what that plan entails, if that makes sense to you. We're just gathering, we're doing fact-finding, gathering information now to be able to do the work that is yet to come.
And Mayor Demings, he asked, when will this be presented to the public, the plan?
It'll be right after the first of the year. We will use that oversight committee to help us to prioritize that list. And by the spring, the public will know this is the kind of list of the projects. And so I won't give you a specific date, but sometime in the spring that will be available. It'll be 6 to 8 months before the election date, and then we'll move forward at that point. Okay.
Okay, at the microphone, please.
Hello, my name is Jasmine. I did some research so that way I could effectively contribute to the meeting. Personally, I would not mind doing the tax for the transportation, because I would like to see Orange County move to more of a mass transit, because I want to reduce my carbon footprint in the community. What I researched was that Uber launched this application or a website called Uber Movement. It's for cities in Florida like Orlando. It's a free tool which uses Uber's anonymized data from millions of trips to help urban planners make significant decisions about the city. And I was just wondering if those type of tools or what other innovative measures are being used to look at what would be most beneficial when we're planning like routes for the communities, or what's going to hit the most people, so that way they can participate in mass transit.
You know, Uber has been a company that entered the market space as a disruptor. They totally disrupted how we saw the vehicles for hire business operate. That's taxi cabs and the like. But that's still putting people in cars. And we really want to, again, reduce to the extent we can by having a robust transportation system, reduce the number of automobiles on the roadways. That takes something much larger. It may involve increasing the number of buses. It may involve expanding Sunrail so that we can move people more efficiently. This whole conversation that we're having tonight is really all about moving people. How do we move people through a growing community more efficiently than we have ever done before? What we know doesn't work is what we have now. if you drive on these roadways, that's what I'm hearing you say tonight. The roads are congested, too many lights. And think about it, if we continue to grow, and we will continue to grow, doing nothing is not a good option for us as a community. We have to take the bull by the horns and move this forward. And so that's why I'm being bold here and saying that we don't have the kind of funding through our normal budget to be able to do what we're trying to do here. Even if we expanded our local option gas tax, when you go to the gas station and you fill up your automobiles, you pay a local option gas tax. Even if we went up to the max that we could charge here, it would only generate approximately an additional $27 million on an annual basis. The sales tax, again, $635 million. The local option gas tax isn't a good option because vehicles are becoming much more efficient. So the revenue source is at best a static revenue source, if not a declining revenue source, because of improved efficiencies of automobiles, hybrids, electric vehicles, et cetera. That's impacting our roadways. Is there an opportunity to connect with Uber in some way for the first mile or the last mile and to do something innovative? Perhaps there are some initiatives. I know the mayor of Maitland was here earlier. They have an initiative where they're doing something with Uber related to Sunrail and for that last mile or first mile connectivity. So yeah, we're going to think outside the box, look at all the options that we have, looking at communities around the country for best practices. There are metropolitan areas that are more advanced than we are today, and we're learning from them. We've been on the road to study what they're doing in Salt Lake City, Utah, what they're doing in Pittsburgh, and we'll be looking at some other communities around the country as well. So hopefully, in a broad way, this was a response to your question. Okay, thank you very much.
We will take you at the mic and then over here. Please go ahead. Say your name and where you live and your transportation issue.
Okay. Hi, my name is Rory, and I live on the east side of Orlando, Curry Ford Road. So I've heard a lot of great points today, but my major concern and what I want to know, with all of these problems, why is Orange County going to spend $125 million on a road for Universal Studios instead of on these problems that we currently have?
Okay.
Fair question.
Perhaps it's a fair question. The dollars that we're spending to improve the roadway system, Universal, with their expansion project, will benefit. But prior to Universal ever announcing the expansion of their business with a new theme park, we were already planning to do roadway improvements for that entire corridor around the Kirkman Road, Sand Lake Road area. If you're like me, I live out off of Sand Lake Road. It's a failed roadway. It's broken. The traffic doesn't flow very well. We have the whole International Drive tourist corridor is broken. So it was planned to do an expansion prior to that. Now, it may not appear that way to you because of how some people want to use this for other reasons. Some people want to use it as a labor issue to negotiate with Universal in the public over wages and other things. But irrespective of whether or not Universal expands or not, the roadway system there in the Kirkman Road area is already broken. It's a failed roadway, and we are addressing that. And there was a whole, prior to me being the mayor, Mayor Jacobs and the Board of County Commission came up with a plan of action and entered into a contractual agreement with Universal and other partners to expand the roadway system around that area. So I believe the residents in the nearby communities, neighborhoods around that whole corridor will benefit with a better transportation system as well. And so we're, like it or not, we still have to do everything that we're doing in that area.
Thank you, ma'am, for your question.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, over here. Go ahead, ma'am. Say your name and where you live. And
Victoria Gale. I'm born and raised here. I'm from here.
You're from Conway.
I've lived other places, but I'm back.
Okay.
The whole thing's traffic congestion, right? That's why we're
Yes.
here, right? I'm sorry, but that covers development. That covers a lot of
Okay,
areas.
let's
besides
ask the
just-
question.
Yeah,
Let's
so
get
what
to
is your
your
question?
Okay, I'm
ma'am.
sorry. This is not just questions. We're here to communicate and just discuss, right? If we have concerns
Well, we
or
want to
whatever.
formulate a plan. I mean, we'll listen, but we really got a lot
Okay,
of
I'm
people
trying
that
here. I'm
have
trying.
questions.
Okay, I believe some of the responsibility for the traffic congestion, I've thought this for a long time, it's the wild hair, whatever, but part of it, the responsibility relies on the business owners, human resources. There's a lot of people in the city. There's a lot of the same businesses on this side of town or that side of town or whatever side of town. There's very few operations that are that large that are going to be in this part of town. Amazon's going to destroy our roads. Anyway, when you employ someone, it just takes a few seconds just to see where they live. All of us, I would imagine, would agree here that we don't want to drive to Lake Mary for work if we don't have to. We'd rather stay local if we can do that. And I think a lot of the maybe business owners hire someone because maybe they can pay less money. The workers you mentioned that you bus in here, I don't know how many you said there were, but there were quite a few. Why not give those jobs locally? There's people here that would love to have those jobs, and they probably are subbing it out somewhere else that you have to bus them in because you're paying less money. I don't know why. But quality life is at stake. And the only way you're going to have growth in most of these areas around here is to go where? Up. So what I'd like to see happen is that you guys thoroughly think it through and thoroughly listen to what people have to say that have been here a long time. We're not here to stop growth. That's impossible. But we're here to keep the quality here so people want to live here. We have a good life here. There's a lot of things I have to say, but I'm not even...
No, thank you.
I got to stop.
But I think everyone agrees. I mean, I think everyone agrees about
We're
quality
in
of life.
agreement
I got one
with
more
you.
thing to say. This is a fact. When you mix traffic, whether it's vehicles, cars, whatever, with pedestrians or bicyclers, that is a recipe for what?
We know. We're number one.
So this whole pedestrian crossing thing that you want to put all over the place that I've heard of at this point, all it's going to do is congest traffic more, stop traffic. Someone's going to get hurt. And it's not going to be the people in the cars. No one in this room, as we saw tonight, raised their hand and said, yeah, I take the public transportation. Only a few, very couple of people. Most people ride in cars, and I don't think any of us are going to take the bus anytime soon or the Sunrail or anything else. I don't know what the solution is at this point, but I mean, it's just, I would think you got to get people from going from this side of town to that side of town. It's just a little bit of thought. I guarantee you, there's a lot of people here, and if some people would do it, it would help tremendously.
Thank you.
So let me do this while we're kind of having this dialogue tonight. How many of you think we have a traffic congestion problem in this community? Raise your hands. Okay. Now, how many of you really want us to tackle this problem and do something with it? Raise your hands. Okay. Seems like the overwhelming majority of people here agree that we have a traffic congestion problem. The overwhelming majority agree that you want us to do something about it. We have a housing crisis here. Now, going back to what Ms. Baptiste said, yeah, we should be more intentional about how we plan our communities out, where people live and where people work, and how we connect them together. We're a large urban county now. And so, yes, we do have this responsibility. We can't solve the housing crisis if we don't also address transportation. It gives us that opportunity to really look at both issues here in this community. And I can tell you, by working collaboratively across the region, we should better plan our communities. We should better plan our areas of commerce so that people are living close to where they work so that they don't have to get into an automobile and drive there. But the fact of the matter is, we have grown by the way that we have grown now in 1,000 square miles, and we're kind of spread out because we still do have availability of land. But this is all part of a comprehensive approach that we're using to address the challenges that we have going forward by getting your input into this process. Okay.
Thank you. And
Jane, you're the moderator, so I'm going to let you moderate.
No, I know. We've got 15 minutes left. 15 minutes. We have a long line there, and so we're going to take 2 or 3 people over here and then maybe over here. But we've got people that have been waiting for a while. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, my name is Ronald. I'm concerned because the Sunrail and the buses are hard to use because of the schedules, okay? But I think we should use all resources, and we must solve this problem, okay? How many buses can we buy at $125 million that we're about to give Universal Studio, okay? Why don't we start there?
Mayor, you can step right here.
We're expanding roadways.
You're spending $125 million to Universal Studio.
Do you not want us to expand the roadways out in the Kirkman Road corridor? Okay. A few moments ago, I asked you all the questions. Do we have traffic congestion? Do you want us to do something about it? You said yes and yes.
Solutions.
But now you come up and you say, well, I don't want you to spend the money on the roadways. Tell me what it is that you want us to do with it. Ignore it?
New buses. The schedule will be better.
We are going to, if this tax passes, there will be new buses as well.
Okay, the woman behind you. If you could step to the mic, tell us who you are and your question. Then we'll come over here.
Rachel Sue. I live behind Fashion Square Mall. I commute to my office down Aloma eastbound, so I never had any problem. But the opposite direction, people going westbound towards I-4, it's getting worse and worse. They're so backed up, like even like 9:30 in the morning, it's still backed up, and I feel sorry for them, and it's been in my mind that I'd like to ask whether it's even a dream to expand Aloma, because it's so packed up in that along that street.
So your issue is congestion on Aloma, and we're writing that down. That is, I believe, a state road, but these are things that we can look at with
governments to come up with solutions that make sense for all of us as we address this.
It's not Orange County? I thought it's between Orange County and Seminole.
It's 13 municipalities within Orange County, and Winter Park is one of them. And so Aloma, many of these roadways that you all have mentioned tonight, they fall within the jurisdictional responsibility of municipalities. Some of them, if they're state roadways, the state has some responsibility as well. We want to make certain that when you all currently pay sales taxes and other taxes, many of those taxes they are sent to Tallahassee. So we have to work with the state to make certain that we get our fair share of those tax dollars back into our community.
And as you know, we've already had the half-cent sales tax.
Yes.
And it raises $1.4 billion a year. And we've also passed the one millage that...
I don't think that number is accurate. When you say $1.4 billion.
Your question, sir, about transportation.
About transparency. We passed the one millage, sales tax overwhelmingly. We passed the one millage, and yet the teachers still aren't being taken care of. So why should the taxpayers have, well, I got for quiet. Why should the taxpayers buy into this 1%? And again, we want transparency. I'm for it. I believe that this is a great thing to do, but we need transparency and how this is going to be worded, because right down to the one millage, because it doesn't say increase pay for teachers, it says to retain highly qualified teachers.
So he'll talk about transparency, Mayor.
Okay. I know he's waiting.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question.
We're
Again, in terms of transparency, That's why we're having all of these community meetings to really seek input first. That's why we're saying to you, you tell us what it is that you want, how you want us to solve the issues. We will then develop a plan that will be communicated with an oversight committee that will help to prioritize what the monies will be spent upon, and then we'll move forward. So in terms of the ballot language itself, based upon everything that we do here, and we will decide whether or not this, if it's a full penny, how long that will be in place, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. We're going to base that upon all of the feedback that we get. And so we'll then draft the ballot language, and then we will educate the public about what will be on the ballot. You will understand what the money will be spent for. You will understand how it will benefit you individually in your respective place. So again, I said earlier, we're trying the narrative is we want you to see yourself in the story, how it's going to benefit you. That's the only way that this tax will pass itself. If you don't see yourself in the narrative benefiting you somehow, then you probably won't vote for it. Is that fair?
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're running short on time, so we have a gentleman over here. If you could please state your name and your question.
My name is John Puhak. Question. We mentioned intersection improvement.
Yes.
Lights are typically the solution. In some areas, they've done traffic circles, such as Windermere and other areas. Is that a consideration that
So
we
you're
might
interested in traffic circles? Is that what we want to write down?
Yes.
On the, okay. Okay, gentlemen, yes. Please, please be short. We're trying to get
I'm
everybody
going to
in.
try. I want to bring up an intersection. My name is Paul. I live on Conway Manor. On Hoffner, when they did the expansion, they had that median in the middle. I'm finding it very difficult when it comes to my commute because it's impacting or it's causing a little difficulty when it comes to Commander because in order for me to go to Walmart, I didn't really want to say the name, but in order for me to get to Walmart, I have to make a U-turn somewhere. And Commander and Hoffner is a dangerous intersection due to the fact that you have Fox rental car that has trucks that use that as a turn lane. You also have the people coming down Commander only because McDonald's did something wicked with their traffic, so you have to go around. So there's that problem also.
So you're very concerned about the intersection. I see your commissioner nodding her head.
Right. So you got turn lanes going onto Commander, and then you got me making the U-turn. So whoever's on each one, it's blocking the view for each side. So just trying to make that turn is dangerous, and the people coming across Commander. Also, there's the intersection of Conway and Hoffner. I love Publix. I didn't want to say that, but I just wanted to say it.
Okay.
I love Publix, and it's hard to go to Publix and turn back around to go back to where I live. And I've heard, and we even went to Publix, there's a lot of people there that have this issue that live in my area that it's hard to make that U-turn to go back down. So I just wanted to make that aware. All right.
I see a
Thank
lot
you
of
for the awareness. Mr. Renzo Nastasi, Renzo, can you hook up with him maybe and just kind of share with him some of the things that may be going on from the county's perspective?
Do you want to walk over to walk over to the board?
Manager here.
Thank you,
Jane,
sir.
I've promised everyone 30 seconds in line who's here.
Okay.
Just give them all 30 seconds to give their quick statement, and then they're going to move on. All right, Mayor? Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's go. Yes, and then we'll wrap you guys up. Please, but let us know. Go ahead.
My name is David. I live in Orange County. I live in the Summerlin Boulevard. And I understand what you're saying about the universal thing. But my question is, why are we putting that first when we can just do what you're saying in this meeting? That's my question. Why are we doing
Why the priority for
Why
universal?
is the priority doing the expansion?
Well, you talking
road?
about the Kirkman Road since that's been
Yes,
around
ma'am.
since 2001? Okay.
I just want to know why is that going first?
Again, that was all programmed prior to a decade, perhaps before we even contemplated this particular initiative. So Kirkman Road and that whole corridor didn't just fail today. It's been failed for years now, and so that was already programmed. One of the things I will tell you about these initiatives is, you know, remember when we all were told about the lotto money would go to improve education, and then there was some supplanting that occurred. Well, that's not what we're doing here. What we're saying to you is those things that we had already programmed in our public works budgets and our capital improvement plans, they should remain. This would be additional projects on top of what we had already programmed. The Kirkman Road corridor was already programmed to, where did the young man go? Oh, there he is. I'm sorry. It was already programmed. So everything that we're talking about now is new funds on top of what was already programmed, if that makes sense to you.
Thank you. Ma'am,
okay.
Quickly.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Marquez, and I live in Orange, Orlando, third district, by Golden Road in Orlando, Curry Ford, Golden Road, Lake on the Hill. All those are constructions. Why can't we finish those roads instead of opening another new road, Universal, going through Universal? Can we really finish our street
And
first?
what street are you
I
talking
live
about?
in Golden Road by Quarry Ford. Yes.
Okay.
Golden Road.
Thank
in
you.
Colonial. Instead of just going opening Universal Studio, those big streets, can we literally like finish these constructions and then?
If you see construction
You know?
now, if you see projects that are already under construction,
Yeah,
none of those projects are going to be completed using the dollars that we will receive. First off, it'll be a while before the revenues will be even collected. If this goes on the ballot in November 2020, you're talking about 2021 before we begin to even collect any dollars for this, and we would then program those dollars out well into the future. So if there are current projects that are underway, that's part of another funding stream, another funding source that really has to be brought to conclusion as well.
It'd be nice, you know.
Thank
the
you, ma'am.
constructions.
So we're getting close to the end, and I think Commissioner Uribe, some final thoughts, and Mayor Deming, some final thoughts, or are we going to get some?
30
do we
seconds
have
each.
time?
Quickly.
30 seconds?
Quickly.
Okay.
Hi, thank you for doing this. It has to
Sure.
be very intimidating.
Okay.
My name's Sarah. I live on Gatlin. I just recently moved to a job where I could use Sunrail. It cost me $3 to take the Sunrail to work and then $10 to Uber from Sunrail to my job. So just be conscientious of some sort of public transportation, maybe with links to get people from the Sunrail to where they need to work. Thank you. Go.
No, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Write that down.
We're writing.
thank
We're
you.
writing that down. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to do it really quick as well. I'm going to piggyback off the other gentleman that was talking about Hoffner. By the way, Diana Font with Conway Acres. I think that we should do something about Hoffner Avenue. For instance, when they were the gentleman that was just talking about Conway and Hoffner, we have the same problem when it comes to, and it's all single lanes to make the left. We've got the expansion where we can make them double lanes, make 2 lanes turning versus 1 lane. I think it would bring the problem to a halt. Because, in all honesty, I mean, if we went to 4 lanes, why can't we have 2 turning lanes at one point instead of keeping us at the same spot? And that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and our final comment tonight.
The final and the last one, it looks like in the last, we say the last, the best is for last, and that is Mayor. Thank you for showing up. I am your happy healer, Keith Landy. I'm right here in Orlando, Florida. I wanted to be last because I'm actually running for president of the United States. And so, thank you. And
all right.
If you get a chance, go to happyhealerforpresident.com. Happyhealerforpresident.com. And thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor, we love it. We just want to remind.
Okay.
Well, everybody, please, we want to collect your surveys, so please turn in your surveys at the end. And now Mayor Demings and Commissioner will wrap this up.
Let me just say thank all of you for coming out and being patient with us as we have listened to your concerns. Again, our website, we have information that is up. We will continue to gather the information, and I promise you that we're going to put it into a plan that you will be able to understand and hopefully support in November of next year. And so thank you, Commissioner Uribe. I believe the mic there might be dead, so you